communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. I'm your host, Jasmine McTay, coming to you live from Jersey City, New Jersey. Now, the details at this time. Our first story of the hour. The third teen charged in the 2019 killing of New York City college students Tessa Majors was sentenced to 14 years in prison Wednesday. Rashawn Weaver, 16, received the agreed-upon sentence of 14 years to life in prison after pleading guilty last month to second-degree murder in the fatal stabbing of Majors. Weaver was 14 at the time of the killing. He was accused of stabbing Majors, an 18-year-old student at Barnard's College, during a robbery in Manhattan's Morningside Park. He initially pleaded not guilty to the stabbing, but in December charged his plea to guilty while also pleading guilty to first and second degree robbery in connection to previous robberies in the park. During the sentencing hearing, Weaver apologized to Major's family for his selfish and immature actions and said he would give anything to go back in time so it never happened. Major's parents did not speak in court or after the sentencing, but prosecutors Matthew Bardagnos said they miss her every second of every day. 14 years to life is a long time, but at the end of his sentence, Rashawn Weaver goes home. Tess never will. Bardagnos said Weaver's attorney, Jeffrey Lichman, said teen was a symptom of a broken system, noting his father and other adult role models had also been in prison. It does not absolve him from it, but it does explain, Lichman said. Luciano Lewis, 16, was previously sentenced to 9 years to life in prison after pleading guilty to his role in the stabbing, while in a third teen charged as a minor was sentenced up to 18 months in juvenile detention facility after pleading guilty. Now on to the second story of the hour. A $15,000 reward has been offered in a fatal shooting of a Chicago hairstylist who was killed while looking for a parking spot. The 49-year-old hairstylist Tamiku Talbert Flemings was shot and killed while looking for a parking spot at her job in Chicago's lawn last Friday. Police said a dark-colored Dodge Durango pulled alongside Talbert's Fleming on 71st Street and Austrian Ave and fired into her car. Cook County Board President Tony Kirkwickle called for justice in the shooting of the hairstylist in Chicago Lawn neighborhood. Wednesday morning, many expressed their outrage and appeal to the public to speak up as they Tucker Fleming's killer will be brought to justice. Her husband, Alonzo Fleming, spoke for the first time in public. This is the worst feeling anybody would want to go through, he said. I can't go to sleep at night. I kept everything in the room and piled it on the bed to make it seem like she is lying next to me just to touch something. This is unbelievable. I just say, y'all, please help. I know somebody has seen something, Fleming said. Cook County Board President Tony Prickwickle spoke at a news conference and noted that of more than 1,000 homicides in Cook County last year, and 23% were women, which she said was doubled from the previous year. Prickwickle said it can't be the new normal and talked about what the county is doing to prevent gun violence. At the county level, we are working to address the root cause of violence through investments in violence prevention and other services that discourage at risk residents from becoming involved in crime and violence, Prickwickle said. On to the next story of the hour. A Los Angeles court judge sentenced a 38-year-old Artyom Gasparyan on Tuesday to life in prison with no possibility of parole for a violent crime spree and a freeway crash that resulted in a woman and her children being hurt. In August, a jury convicted Gasparyan on over 30 counts for the violent crime spree, which ended with him being shot after a wrong way freeway crash. It was a violent and bloody end to a wild and speedy pursuit on the 5 freeway roughly 6 years ago. Police closed in on Gasparian, who detectives say was armed following a wrong way crash on the freeway near Salmar. Police shot him as he attempted to exit his car and flee the scene. Gasparian stood trial for murder and attempted murder and a host of other violent crimes, including carjacking during a crime spree that terrorized Southland neighborhoods. Mr. Gasparian did everything he could to kill over a dozen of people, prosecutors say at the sentencing hearing Tuesday. In 2015, Gasparian shot and wounded one man and opened fire on a second man, killing Adam Correa in Panama, Panorama City. Mr. Gasparian is one of the most dangerous people to ever walk the streets of Los Angeles County. Complete disregard for the lives of so many innocent people, prosecutors say. When it comes to the life of Adam Correa, he took his life. But if you look at the shooting of Barry, who is an elderly man, it is a small miracle that he survived. He testified and went through 28 different procedures, surgeries, multiple surgeries, before handing down Gasparian's fate. The judge asked for witness impact statements. People, do you have any victim impact statements at all? The judge said. There will be no victim impact statements made today, although we do have the sister of the deceased in court, replied the prosecutors. Now on to the next story of the hour. With the start of a new year, Harris County is seeing a same amount of evictions since the pandemic. According to the data of the January advisors, it is really a tsunami of evictions coming all at once. We have had various bulwarks against evictions, namely rent relief, that have stopped evictions for a long time, said Eric Kowatler, a public interest attorney and adjunct professor at South Texas College of Law, Houston. It may sound like a return to normal, but we've been living in a different economy since COVID 19 hit. The trend isn't good, especially when you consider the amount of assistance available. Harris County has received nearly $300 million in federal funding for pandemic rent relief, but by now, nearly all of it has either been distributed or allocated. If you apply now and haven't been to an eviction court yet, your application will be held until the next round of fundings, which may never come. If you're a renter and you're having trouble paying for your February's rent, it is critically important that you communicate with the manager now, said Christy Rodriguez, the president of the Houston Apartment Associations. Experts are even advising folks to get an attorney. Tenants don't understand the process or they can't get off work. So they don't show up to trials and they get evicted if the judge doesn't have time to look at their case, which is a lot of these high volume courts. Coitler said, don't give up. This is not the end if you get an eviction notice. It does not mean you're going to get thrown out of your home immediately. It does not mean you're going to get thrown out of your home. You have rights. And now, short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 daily local news update. And now the story of the hour. The Philadelphia police are investigating after a woman was beaten to death in Old City. It happened inside an office building on the 300 block of Chestnut Street around 2:14 p.m. Wednesday. Police say a 48-year-old male suspect attacked a 31-year-old woman with two large metal pipes that were roughly 2 feet long and 1 inch wide. Police say the woman, who has so far only been identified as a team leader in a building, was struck at least 5 times in the head while sitting with her back turned in a reception area. She later died at Jefferson Hospital. Sources tell Action News that the attacks may have been fueled over a rent dispute. Police confirmed a suspect was renting 1 to 2 units on the eighth floor of the building where the victim also works. We know that they know each other and we believe that there may have been some arguments or problems in the past. However, we are still looking on the information, said Philadelphia Police Chief Inspector Scott Small. They say about 20 911 call reportings the attack were made. Detectives also questioned roughly 10 witnesses. Investigators said those witnesses did not appear to intervene, but the victim did try and protect herself. She had defensive wounds on both her hands, said Smalls. As for the suspect, police say once they arrived on the scene, he was seen getting out of an elevator covered in blood and was holding a bag carrying the two pipes, likely used as a result. It was definitely a very violent, tragic incident, said Smalls. The suspect has not been identified. On to the next story of the hour. Under current laws, San Francisco police aren't allowed to tap into security camera footage in real time. Mayor London Breed expressed her frustration with that after crime in the city made national news when stores in Union Square were being looted in November. San Francisco police officers were directed by their commanders not to monitor live camera feeds. When there were multiple robberies hitting multiple stores, they couldn't even access those cameras, said Mayor London Breed. Mayor Breed's plan on changing that limitations through a proposal that authorizes law enforcement to temporarily use cameras to respond to crime that takes place during critical events. Supervisor Ashia Safai said he all in for additional measures, but says the mayor is giving the chief of police too much leeway, not giving the board of supervisors enough oversight. I support the spirit of what the mayor is doing, but the devil is always in the details, and we'll have to see how the debate happens over the next 60 to 90 days, said San Francisco supervisors at Chef Safi. Mayor Breed's audience ordinances, also authorize police to live monitor cameras in public safety crisis areas. Part of the mayor's plan to crack down on crimes in areas like Tenderloin. People have to be held accountable for the crimes they commit in our cities, please. On Tuesday, supervisors Preston Chan, Preston, Rooney, and Walton spoke out against Mayor Breed's proposal. They instead introduced a ballot measures to reinforce existing laws that bans the use of facial recognition technology and requires police to submit a request to the Board of Supervisors before monitoring surveillance cameras. San Franciscans have said no to unchecked authoritarianism surveillance before, and we must stand firm to protect our rights, said Supervisor Connie Chan. Mayor Breed's goal is to address this issue at the Board of Supervisors meeting next Tuesday. If an agreement cannot be reached, she says she's committed to making her proposal a ballot measure that voters will decide on in June. On to the next story of the hour. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey, a progressive lawyer known for taking on former President Donald Trump and Purdue Pharma, will launch her campaign for governor on Thursday, according to two people familiar with her planning. Haley's entrance could maximize Democrats' chances of retaking the office the party has so rarely held in recent decades. Haley, who's been seriously considering running for governor for the better part of the year, has long been viewed as a Democrat's best shot at reclaiming the governor's office. Republicans have held the position for almost the past 30 years, a streak broken only by former governor and presidential hopeful Deval Patrick. Her path became much clearer after the GOP Governor Charlie Baker and Lieutenant Governor Cameron Polito both bowed out of the 2022 contest in early December, tipping the race towards the Democrats. Even before Haley got in, one Democrat, former state senator Ben Downing, dropped out late last year, citing fundraising woes. The remaining Democrat hopefuls, State Senator Sonia Chang Diaz, and Harvard political theorist and nonprofit leader Danielle Allen do not have the statewide network and name recognition Haley's built over two successful campaigns for Attorney General. Republicans candidate Geoff Dalley, a former state representative who's backed by former President Donald Trump, got trounced by Senator Elizabeth Warren in his last statewide campaign in 2018. Still, to win, Haley will have to overcome Massachusetts' so-called Attorney General's curse. Six attorney generals have tried for governor's office since Paul Davers last won it in 1950s, and all have failed. A progressive Democrat, Haley will have to win over not just Republicans and independents who make up the majority of the state's registered voters, but activists within her own party who are to her left. And like other Democrats, she lost one of her main foils when Donald Trump left office, though she would face a similar foe in Delhi. Haley's entrance into the Massachusetts governor race will also have a ripple effect on down ballot races in the state, starting with her own attorney general seat. Quentin Palfrey, the 2018 Democrat lieutenant governor nominee, and prominent labor attorney Shannon Liss Royandon were already building campaigns for attorney general should Haley seek another office. And the county district attorney said to be eyeing the race could create another open seat in the state where they remain rare. On to the next story of the hour. Residents in senior living community in Madison have to move because the property was sold to a developer. The owners of North Park Village Senior Community said the decision came after realizing they just can't keep up with the city's taxes and regulations anymore. The closing of North Park Village is part of a larger economic dynamic where assisting residents cannot afford the taxes, property costs, and regulatory impacts of dynamic economic like metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County, said Gary Clickley on behalf of Madison Senior Living LLC and Good Works Unlimited LLC. According to management, five assisted living residents will be relocated to Mount Juliet property. There wasn't a similar housing option for more than a dozen independent residents, but they were given a list of communities in the area with openings. Residents have started to look, but are concerned about both the search and move. I've started looking, but to tell you the truth, the places that I have looked at, they're too expensive, said Norma Upshaw. Even trying to apply for low income, most places you get to, they are not even accepting applications because they're full. Everyone in the neighborhood got a letter last week spelling out that they had to move by March 16th. I thought this was the last stop because another thing is I'm still ill, said Ruby St. Vincent, a resident. I have an incurable disease, and this was comfortable. The layout and everything, and the neighbors and his community were where we helped out one another. And now a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 daily local news update. And now the story of the hour. Accusing the United States of hostility and threats, North Korea on Thursday said it will consider restarting all temporarily suspended activities it had paused during its diplomacy with the Trump administration in an apparent threat to resume testing of nuclear explosives and long range missiles. North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency said leaders Kim Jong un presided over a Politburo meeting of a ruling Workers' Party where officials set policy goals for immediately bolstering military capabilities to counter the Americans. Hostile moves officials gave instructions to reconsider in an all over scale trust building measures that we took on our own initiative and promptly examined the issue of restarting all temporary suspended activities, the KCNA said. Experts say Kim is reviving an old playbook of brinkmanship to extract concessions from Washington and neighbors as he grapples with the decaying economy crippled by the pandemic, mismanagement, and U.S. led sanctions over his nuclear ambitions. The North has been ramping up its weapons demonstrations recently, including 4 rounds of missiles launched just this month in an apparent effort to pressure Washington over a prolonged freeze in nuclear diplomacy. The North Foreign Ministry had already warned of stronger action after Biden's administration's last week imposed fresh sanctions over its continued missiles tests. The UN Security Council scheduled a closed door meeting for Thursday to discuss North Korea and non proliferation matters. South Korea said its military was closely monitoring the North as it urged its rival to return to dialogue. China, North Korea's main ally, and repeated its denouncement of U.S. sanctions through a foreign ministry debriefing on Thursday, calling them a source of tension on Korea's peninsula. China has avoided criticizing the North over its recent missile launches and endorsed a return to multinational disarmament talks hosted by Beijing that have stalled since 2008. Kim announced an unilateral suspension of its nuclear and intercontinental ballistic missiles test in 2018 as he initiated talks with then President Donald Trump in an attempt to leverage his nukes for badly needed economic benefits. Their summit follows as pro provocative run in North Korean nuclear and intercontinental range ballistic missiles testing in 2017 that demonstrated Kim's pursuit of an arsenal that can target the American homeland. He also exchanged threats of nuclear annihilations with Trump. On to the next story of the hour. Russia on Thursday announced sweeping naval drills in several parts of the world this month and claimed the West is plotting provocations in neighboring Ukraine, where the Kremlin has been accused of planning aggressive military actions. Amid a buildup of an estimated 100,000 Russian troops near the border with Ukraine, a massive jolt war games with Belarus, and the Defense Ministry said it will also conduct maneuvers involving the bulk of Russia's naval potential. The drills are intended to practice Navy and Air Force actions to protect Russian national interests in the world's oceans and to counter military threats to the Russian Federation's. The ministry said, adding that they will start this month and run through February. It is said the exercise will involve over 140 warships and more than 60 aircrafts and will be conducted in a both littoral waters and more distant operationally important areas, including the Mediterranean, Northeastern, Atlantic, and Pacific Ocean. The ministry said several Russian warships are currently taking part in a joint exercise with China and Iran in the Gulf of Oman that began Tuesday and will last until the weekend. The U.S. President Joe Biden said Wednesday he thinks Russia will invade Ukraine and warns President Vladimir Putin that his country would pay a dear price in lives lost and a possible cutoff from a global banking system if it does. Moscow has repeatedly denied having plans to launch an offensive, but it has sought a set of security guarantees from the West that could exclude NATO's expansions to Ukraine and other ex Soviet nations and deployment of alliance weapons there. Washington and its allies firmly rejected Moscow's demands in security talks last week, but kept the door open to possible further talks on arms control and confidence building measures to reduce the potential of hostilities. Aimed the tensions, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited Ukraine Wednesday to reassure it of Western support and met with his British, French, and German counterparts in Berlin on Thursday to discuss Ukraine and other security matters. Blinken is set to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Geneva on Friday. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova alleged that Ukraine and Western claims of an imminent Russian attack on Ukraine were a cover of staging large scale provocations of their own, including those of military character. They may have extremely tragic consequences for a regional and global security. Sakharov said she pointed to the delivery of weapons to Ukraine by British military transport planes in recent days, claiming that the Ukraine perceives Western military assistance as a carte blanche of military operations in Donbass. Donbass, located in eastern Ukraine, is under control of Russian backed separatists who have fought Ukraine's forces for nearly 8 years, a conflict that has killed more than 14,000 people. Ukraine said earlier this week that it has taken the delivery of anti tank missiles from the UK, and it also rejected Moscow's claims that it plans an offensive to reclaim control of separatist held area in the country's eastern industrial heartland. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the U.S. threat to cut off Russia from the global banking system could encourage hawkish forces in Ukraine to use force to reclaim control of its rebel east. It may implant false hopes in the hotheads of some representatives of Ukrainian leadership who may decide to quietly restart civil war in their country. Preskov said in a conference call with reporters. In a move that further beats up forces near Ukraine, Russia has sent an unspecified number of troops from its far east to its ally Belarus, which shares a border with Ukraine, for major war games that runs through February 20th. Ukrainian officials have said Moscow could use Belarusian territory to launch a potential multi-pronged invasion. Now to the next story of the hour. At least 2.8 million doses of COVID 19 vaccine donated to African countries have expired. The African Center of Disease Control said Thursday, citing short shelf lives as a major reason. Donors of the vaccines to the continent should send them with a realistic shelf life of about 3 months to 6 months before their expiration. African CDC Director John Kengasson told an online briefing more African nations are now refusing to accept donation of vaccines that have only 1 to 2 months before their expirations, he said. Although the numbers of expired doses is only about 0.5% of the total numbers donated to Africa, Kengasan said he is unhappy to see any become invalid. Any dose of vaccine that expires pains me because that is a life that can potentially be saved. Kengasan said just over 10% of African population of 1.3 billion people are fully vaccinated, he said. The continent's 54 countries have confirmed 10.4 million COVID 19 cases and 235,000 deaths. The continent's Omicron wave appeared to be receding, with new confirmed cases down by 20% from previous weeks and death dropping by 8%. The World Health Organization's African office announced Thursday more than 60% of the 572 million vaccine doses African countries have received have already been administered, Kengasan said. The big fight for African countries will be logistics and getting doses to the population even as more supplies arrive, he said. We've been remarkable uptake of vaccines in setting where we engage the community and religious leaders, Kengason said, urging the countries to use innovative ways to bring vaccines to the population, not only require that population should go to where the vaccines are. In Nigeria, for instance, an increasing number of vaccination centers are being set at public facilities such as markets, motor parks. Health authorities are collaborating with opinion leaders to fight um, persistency. Vaccines are Africa's best defense against several illnesses, death, and overwhelmed health systems. Mashidiso Moti, the World Health Organization Africa director, said at another online briefing on Thursday. Now to the next story of the hour. The 19-year-old Belgian British pilot Zara Rutherford set a world record as the youngest woman to fly solo around the world, touching her small plane down in Western Belgium on Thursday, 155 days after she departed. Rutherford will find herself in the Guinness Book of Records books after setting the mark that has been held by 30-year-old American aviator Shaista Wise since 2017. The overall record will remain out of Rutherford's grasp since Briton Travis Ledlow set that benchmark last year as an 18-year-old. Her global flight in her ultralight Shark plane was supposed to take 3 months, but relentless bad weather and visa issues kept her grounded sometimes for weeks on end, extending her venture by 2 months. On Thursday, rain, drizzle, sunshine, and even a rainbow over Kerchik Airport exemplified the changing, often bad weather she had been facing all too often. After she was escorted by four planes formation in a huge V across much of Belgium, she did a flyby of the airport before finally landing. After waving to the jubilant crowds, she embraced her parents and dropped herself both in the Union jacket and Belgian tricolor flag. Winter in Europe poses a lot of challenges, she said, as she was held back for days on the last few legs of the trip. Then again, she had to deal with negative 35 Celsius or negative 31 Fahrenheit in Siberia and 32 Celsius 90 Fahrenheit degrees Fahrenheit in Indonesia. Fog, smoke from wildfires, and even typhoons also held her back. In her trek of more than 52,000 kilometers or 28,000 nautical miles, she stopped over in five continents and visited 41 nations. For the first flight saw her steer clear of wildfires in California, dealt with biting colds over Russia, and nearly avoid North Korea's airspace. She flew by visual flight rules, basically going on site, only often slowing down progress. More sophisticated systems could have led her through clouds and fogs. Sometimes she feared for her life, and at other times she simply yearned for a simple comfort of home. Flying runs in her blood since both her parents are pilots, and she has been traveling in small planes since she was 6. At 14, she started flying herself. With the final touchdown, the teenager wants to infuse young women and girls worldwide with the spirit of aviation and an enthusiasm for studies in the exact science, mathematics, engineering, and technology. Now, a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530 Entertainment LLC at gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 daily local news update. And now the story of the hour. A British man who took 4 people hostage in Texas synagogue ranted against Jews and American wars in Muslim majority countries as his brother pleaded with him to give up and free the captives. A 3-minute recording of their conversation shows the expletive filled recording posted on a website of the Jewish Chronicles revealed a motivation of Malik Faisal Akram, 44, who said he was bombed up and equipped with every kind of ammunition inside Congregation Beth Israel. Golbar Akram desperately tried to get his brother to lay down his weapons and return to his children alive. You don't need to do this. Why are you doing this? Goldberg told his brother. Just pack it in. You'll do a bit of time and then you'll get out. Instead, Saturday's 10 standoff at the House of Worship in a suburbs of Colleyville ended up with Malik Faza Arkhan death. All 4 hostages were unharmed. The Chronicle says the recording was part of a larger 11 and a half minutes recording that is it obtained from security sources. The Associated Press wasn't able to independently confirm the authenticity of the recording, but experts believe it to be genuine. Meanwhile, British police said Thursday that they have arrested two people in connection with the hostage taking. Counterterrorism terrorism police Northwest said one man was arrested Thursday in Birmingham, Central England, and another in northern English city of Manchester. They are being held for questioning and have not yet been charged. The police did not disclose details about the two people detained Thursday. British police do not release names and details of detainees until they are charged. On Sunday, police arrested British teenagers in Manchester as part of an investigation. They were later released without charge. The counterterrorism police force in England said it was continuing to support U.S. authorities with their investigation. Malik Faisal Akram was found was from Blackburn, an industrial city in the northwest of England. His family said he had been suffering from mental health issues. And now to the next story of the hour. A dispute over COVID 19 testing fees for truckers has created fuel prices in Uganda, highlighting an economic impact of the pandemic in a landlocked country with virtually no fuel reserves of its own. Mandatory COVID 19 testing at the country's border with Kenya caused traffic congestions last week as Ugandan custom officials struggle to apply the rules amid opposition from truckers who demanded exemption if they carry proof of a negative test result from Kenya. With little movement at the border, many fuel stations across Uganda ran empty. Motorists lined up at the few still operating, creating anger when prices eventually rose up sharply. Long distance truckers have long demanded exemptions from the Ugandan government, strict measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, calling their services dispensable. A simple dispute over testing fuel process on a Kenyan highway leading to Uganda border in 2020. Kenya and Uganda are one major transport corridor that serves a large part of Central and Southern Africa, often coming from India Ocean port of Mombasa. Mandatory COVID 19 testing in Uganda borders with Kenya's cost about $30, and the amount of representatives of trucking companies calls excessive. Uganda on Tuesday suspended mandatory testing on the borders, hoping to ease a fuel shortage in the capital of Kampala, where some stations were charging nearly $3, more than double the regular price for its liter of petrol. Prime Minister Robina Nabam, Nabanja on Wednesday expressed frustration over fuel prices, urging Ugandans to boycott companies seen as taking advantage of chaos at the border. I want to advise Ugandans to go to petrol stations that have not hiked the prices, she said. Some Ugandans mocked her comments. Price controls are hard to enforce in East Africa's countries where commodity shortage often leads to price gouging. And now for the next story of the hour. President Joe Biden is not planning to answer a further Russian invasion of Ukraine by sending combat troops, but he could pursue a range of less dramatic yet still risky military options, including supporting a post invasion Ukrainian resistance. The rationale for not directly joining the Russian Ukraine war is simple. The United States has no treaty obligations to Ukraine, and war with Russia would be an enormous gamble, given its potential for expanding in Europe, destabilizing the region, and escalating to a frightening point of risking a nuclear exchange. Doing too little has its risks too. It may suggest an acquiescence to future Russian moves against other countries in Eastern Europe, such as the Baltic states, of Estonia, Lavi- um, Latvia, and Lithuania. Although, as NATO members, those three have security assurance from the United States and the rest of the alliance. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is in Europe this week to speak with officials in Ukraine, consult NATO allies, and then meet Friday with Russian counterparts, has asserted an unshakable U.S. commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. But he has no political define the limits of the commitment. How far then might the United States and its allies go to help Ukraine defend itself if the buildup of Russian forces along Ukraine borders leads to an invasion? Going to war against Russia and Ukraine could tie up U.S. forces and resources for years and take a heavy toll in lives with uncertain outcomes at the time when Biden's administration is trying to focus on China as a chief security threat. On Wednesday, Biden said that it was his guess that Russian President Vladimir Putin will end up sending forces into Ukraine, although he also said he doesn't think Putin wants all out war. Biden did not address the possibilities of putting U.S. ground troops in Ukraine to stop an invasion, but he previously had ruled that out. Biden said he is uncertain how Putin will use the forces he has assembled near Ukraine's borders, but the United States and NATO have rejected what Moscow calls its main demand, a guarantee that the Western allies will not expand further eastward. Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine in 2014 after an ouster of Ukraine Moscow friendly leader and also intervened in the eastern Ukraine that year to support the separatist insurgency. More than 14,000 people have been killed in nearly 8 years of fighting there. The stakes in Ukraine are high, and military and politically as well. Lawmakers have intensified their criticism of Biden's approach to Putin. Senator James Inhofe of Oklahoma, the ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, accused Biden of hand wringing and appeasement, but he has not urged sending combat troops. Representative Jim Himes, a Connecticut Democrat who sits on the Housing Intelligence Committee, called for an urgent nonstop airlift of military equipment and trainers into Ukraine. Now, for the last story of the hour, Germany's health minister expects the number of coronavirus infections in the country to keep rising for several weeks before peaking next month. Karl Luttenbach told German public broadcaster ZDF late Wednesday that the wave will reach its peak roughly in mid February. Lauterbach warned that while hospitalization rates are currently low, clinics could see a severe strain in the coming weeks, noting that the share of people over age 50 who aren't vaccinated is significantly higher in Germany than other European countries, such as Italy and Britain. Germany's disease control agency reported 1,536 newly confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours and 234 deaths. Omicron is less likely to cause severe illnesses than the previous Delta variant, according to studies. Omicron spread even more easily than other coronavirus strands and has already become dominant in many countries. It is also more easily infects those who have been vaccinated or have previously been infected by prior versions of the virus. And this was in the daily local news updates of Millennium News 24/7. Log in to get the latest news. All of our social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, is Millennium News 24. Also, our YouTube channel is News Channel M24. Viewers now both on networking, broadcasting Androids and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, also all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views. Our Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA Android, and Millennium News Google, www.millenniumtv24.com. Stay with Millennium News 24, and thank you for watching.